This ad is brought to you by forScore. Gone are the days of having to lug around those colourful music bags with the Velcro. We are truly in the era of tablet-based sheet music, and everybody seems to be using forScore for accessing and storing their digital sheet music library.
forScore is an app designed exclusively for Apple products. You can download your music as PDFs and export them easily into your forScore app. It's then up to you to choose whether you're a chaotic app user or whether you want to categorize your music by a composer, genre, tags, difficulty, time, etc.
The page turns are super quick, you barely notice them, and with forScore Pro you can even turn pages with nods and other customizable gestures. I usually connect by Bluetooth pedal for a seamless page turning experience. No more outdoor gigs with pages flying off the stand.
Annotating your music on the app is next level. Use your finger or a tablet-compatible pencil to draw, add symbols, stamps, and extra manuscript.
And I find the set list option really useful, especially for gigs where I have multiple PDFs I need to access quickly and stress-free. I also had a performance recently where at any point we'd need to jump to a certain page later in the music, so I added a button that I could click to take me there without having to turn 50 pages manually.
So in short, forScore has all the features any musician needs, from the passionate amateur to the seasoned professional.
So download forScore from the App Store today for $24.99 US or the equivalent wherever you are. Things Musicians Don't Talk About is supported by the Royal Society of Musicians. Since 1738, they have been providing vital financial assistance, advice and guidance to music professionals unable to work due to accident, illness, stress or anxiety. Whether you're working as a performer, administrator, technician or teacher, and everything in between, they're there to help. If you know of someone in need, you can contact them in confidence by visiting their website, which is www.rsmgb.org, or you can contact them by ringing 020 7629 6137. Support their work by becoming a member or donating today.
Welcome back to Things Musicians Don't Talk About.
Filmed edition.
We are trying so hard.
We are trying so hard. It's early on a Sunday, on a bank holiday, of all places.
Do you know what though? I was actually really excited to come.
Why?
Because I'm a workaholic.
Oh God,
No, I'm
okay.
not workaholic, but like,
We're going to get into that.
you know when something, like I'm excited for the next chapter and it feels like
Viral TMDTA chapter.
it's very different from everything else in my life, but it's still obviously like the thing I love to do the most.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh my gosh, we're doing a new thing, we're going to film it, we're going to, what could happen? I always need a little project on the go. But how have you been? You've had a very busy time, as always. Every time I see Rebecca, she's like, July, I will be free.
Done in July. July is going to be my like...
She's got shows, she's got teaching, and she's got big therapy placements at the moment.
Yeah, it's been chaotic. It's tipped over. It's like always on the cusp of tipping over into not nice chaos. And I'm in the not nice right now. And I talked about it a lot in therapy where I know that this time has been coming. And every time we're like, but what can I do about it? And every time I come back to like, well, there's just nothing. I can't do anything because I'm committed to this course. I'm committed to earning rent. I'm committed to my placements. So it's been an interesting time. When I'm stressed, I get really like quiet and sad because I know how I've landed back there again. Whereas, you know, Stu, for example, when he gets stressed, it's more outward. I turn it inward a lot more.
But because it feels so like unable to do anything about it, does it piss you off when people try and offer solutions?
So annoyed because I've like tried. I mean, I'm always in this grey area of, do I feel like there's no solutions because I'm addicted to being burnt out or something? Or are there really no solutions? And I genuinely think there are no solutions, but also my brain is like, maybe you're just tricking yourself. Maybe you're a little, you know, you're just a bit addicted to this lifestyle and you're too proud. You're too proud to let anything go.
Because I think the thing that could give from an outsider's perspective is like the trumpet, like the performing of the trumpet.
But how would I earn money?
Well, I guess the teaching.
It's not enough to cover rent.
Mate. Stuart Beard.
He is honestly
Cough it up.
winning that bread right now. So I saw a great reel, and it was like, tell me what the bread loser in your family has recently bought. And it was this video of like this couple, and this woman had bought these, like, I think it was like £15, like weight wise, of raw alpaca wool to like make her own wool. And I was like, this is me spending money on stupid things, and I'm not the earner in the house.
But you just can't. It doesn't matter how little you earn. I feel like you will always buy some kind of stupid shit.
Exactly, just to keep you
yourself
going.
But I also mean, like, you shouldn't be expected to stop playing the trumpet.
No, exactly. I mean, from an outsider's perspective, especially when my mum died, I think counselling probably would have been a thing that's like, why don't you just take some time out of your course?
Could you have done that? Like, deferred?
I mean, technically, yes. I would have had to start the second year again.
You just want it done, though, don't you?
I just hate my course. I think it's all rubbish, and I just need to be done. And it's not just 2 years of course, it's like 4 years of studying that I just need, and out of that it's 10 years in a row of studying that I'm like, I can't do another year of studying.
Exactly. I so understand that.
And I've needed to have 2 placements in order to get my hours and, you know, all this kind of stuff. So I'm just about coping. Some days I do not cope very well, but July is my motto.
I know you can't speak in detail about it, but on the whole,
yeah,
how's the process of having clients feeling?
It's actually feeling pretty good. So I have 3 adult clients and 4 child clients, and it's very different between the 2. And I mean, it sounds obvious that it's different counselling adults and children, but I didn't realise how different it would be. The adults I see online, the children I see in person. And I don't know, I just feel like we're really working well together. I think working in the school is probably harder for me because it feels like the children there don't all need counselling. They need, you know, like the Maslow's triangle of needs. They need like
it's other stuff that
money,
take priority.
Food, a safe space at home, this kind of stuff. So often that can feel quite like heavy, and there's a lot of like social work and that kind of stuff going on. And they're limited to 6 sessions, so it feels like quite a lot to do in 6 sessions. Or like me like wanting to create a lot of change for them in 6 sessions, whereas the adults, it feels open-ended. They can have up to 30 sessions, which is not open-ended obviously, but it's a lot longer, and they obviously have more agency in their lives to make changes that they need.
And you see all of them every week?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So does it feel like you're in a routine with it now, and you sort of, you know them now, and like...
Yeah, I think so.
Have you got more confidence with it?
Definitely. I mean, my first client, it's a bit like, it felt the same as when I started teaching. My first trumpet lesson I ever gave. Oh. I turned up to this house in West Hampstead, and it was that thing of, you just got to pretend like it's not your first one.
Yeah.
And you just got to be like, I've done this before. Like, you know... Yeah. Reading out the contract to the client, and I've rehearsed it, I've done it loads in class, but when you're actually there, you're like, whoa, they're gonna know that they're my first client. And obviously they don't know, but it's
you're so self-conscious about
so you're so aware of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, how are you? You're doing so much traveling. You've been all over the place.
I'm very well. I'm doing fine. I'm still struggling with like, I was reading back my diary yesterday.
Don't do
that.
I
love to do.
Why? Why do you love it?
I don't know. I've changed so much in like 4 months.
Really?
From what I was reading at like New Year. Actually, it's like been 5 months now.
Can you like elaborate or not really?
Yeah, I think like the thing that's kind of stayed the same is this slight, and it is quite slight, I'm not playing it down, this kind of slight boredom, which I think why this like today was so exciting to me.
Something new. Because
it's something new, and I think I'm something about my dopamine or something that I'm always trying to find something new and exciting. And when I got back from America, and it's still going on now, so that was 2 weeks ago today, all I wanted to do was book another trip to America again. Like, I didn't want to come home because everything was new, everything was exciting.
Which is so funny because last time we spoke about America on the podcast, I think you said you hated it.
I don't know. Last time I went, I didn't feel empowered. I kind of was people pleasing my way through the whole trip.
Wow.
And also this time, I just had more time to myself and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I didn't get back from last time being like, I can't wait to go again. I only went again because it was being paid for. So, but this time I was like, I love who I am over there. I love the freedom I have over there, how it feels as a traveller, by the way, not living there.
Yeah, is that just that you don't live there? That is what gives you the freedom?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So that could be like anywhere.
Well, exactly. It's somewhere new. It's somewhere shiny. It feels like it's got possibility. Like, people are nice over there, to be fair. Like, they are really sweet. And like, something that I was surprised about was how much I talked about my faith over there. Where like I feel like I can't over here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like
to people that are also Christian,
because basically everyone is.
Oh.
Well, not basically everyone, but
it's more like
it's
overt.
more socially acceptable to talk about God.
Wow.
And I ended up talking about God a lot, actually. It was really weird. I was like, oh, like we're talking about God's place in our life, like a lot. And I didn't shy away from sort of saying, you know, God's will and like all that. Like stuff that I think I often suppress about my own Christianity in the UK. Like I feel really open to expressing in America. And I liked that.
How often do you think you would talk about God or like mention God over here in your day-to-day life? Like, does it ever happen at work, for instance? Or like, does it ever happen in friendships?
It happens at work only with my one Christian colleague.
Okay.
My boss, who is also Christian. And it's really funny because we only talk about it either when we're in a meeting one-on-one or when everyone's left. And then it's like God kind of comes to the surface. And he told me, oh, it was actually really sweet. He was like, oh, for bank holiday, I'm going to the Fens to see my dad. He's in a nursing home, and he's been in a nursing home 6 months. He was like, this will be the first time that we've been able to worship together. His nursing home is over the street from the church he used to go to. So I'm going to like take him in his wheelchair to church and we're going to worship together. And like, he was like beaming. He was so excited to like worship with his dad. And like, I really understand that because like praying with my dad is like a really important thing to me.
I don't know like anything about praying other than like sitting in school assembly like this. What does it look like, if you're happy to speak about it, like what does praying look like for you?
So with my family, like when I pray with my parents and with my dad, it's like twice a day they come together for like morning and evening prayer. So it's a collection of, there'll be like an opening reading, sort of either preparing for the day or reflecting on the day, and then you read through some psalms and he'll start it, and then the other people in the room will respond with the next verse. So you kind of do it like back and forth, the psalms, and then there'll be 2 readings, very short readings from the Bible, and then you come into the intercessions where like you sit in silence for about 5 minutes, and then you kind of bring up what's coming to your mind of like, I'd like to pray for, I mean, I always want to pray for mentally ill people. So all I'm thinking about when I'm praying is like,
when you're praying. No, I'm joking.
Literally. I'm just like, oh, anyone in distress, please? Oh my God. And then it ends, usually they'll have like half an hour of like what they call adoration, which is like, they light a candle, look at an icon and just sort of sit in silence. And like, he has always been someone, like even when their faith was like a bit rocky and they weren't sure where they were going, like he would pray morning and evening prayer all the time. Like we often had to come down in the morning and he'd just be sat there praying. And it's like, it wasn't a performative thing. It was more just like, this is his routine, and it has been since he was a child. Like it's like such a vocation to him, this like center of just sitting and experiencing and being there for people, you know.
It's quite a mix of like structured and unstructured like prayer time.
But for me on my own, like it's often I feel like drawn to, I don't know, I try. I actually have to trick myself into it because I don't. It's like practice. Like I don't want to do it necessarily.
Yeah.
So I'll be like, I'm going to go and sit on the floor in front of my fire, like, because I have a little hearth in my room. I'll sit there and then I'll like put my phone to a side, and then I'll like turn the light off, and then I'll like light a candle, and then I'm like, okay, I guess I'm praying now.
I'm here again.
And it's basically just meditation.
Yeah. Sounds like a lot of these, like, I get up in the morning at 5 a.m. and I do my affirmations, but like actually not in a kind of white woman influencer, actually like meaningful kind of way.
I think, like, I was telling Jess the other day, our friend Jess, about how the sauna feels like prayer. And like, because you're together, and especially if you go to a quiet session, like no one's speaking, and you can't really think too much beyond how hot you are sometimes.
In all senses.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of, I'm very shocked how that feels like a contemporary version of communion, you know. I really like it.
You got to write something about this.
Do I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sauna as church.
Sauna as church.
For the non-Christians.
So we kind of diverted.
Yeah, we should talk about some music stuff.
We should. So one thing you're doing at the moment.
Yes.
And this blew my mind when Jess told me, because did Jess get you this? No, this is just...
Jess is on the show.
On the show, but on our first episode, you said there's one other trumpet harp girl called Clara.
Did I say this in the first episode?
When I interviewed you first.
No way.
I was like, was quite a strange mix. And you were like, there's actually one other person that does it called Clara. She's amazing.
I don't know of anybody else in the world that plays trumpet and harp. I mean, there may be somebody out there, but I don't know.
So she was involved at the very beginning, and they kind of...
I don't know the whole story, but basically they've combined the trumpet and harp chair into one chair. And she is obviously the person that can do that. And I'm the only person that can dep for her. But she has had occasions where I couldn't make it, so she's had 2 deps.
Is there another person?
No, as in like...
2
separated out the chair.
So when Jess told me, I was like, was Rebecca okay with that? Like, because you obviously sold your harps, like, what, 3 years ago? 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah, something 3 or 4 years ago or something.
So...
I said yes.
How did you feel when Clara asked you, though?
I think I was like, that would just be like a fun little... I actually talked about this in therapy as well, because I was like, wow, because I also went for a run the other day. And...
It's all happening.
It's all happening. And I was like, why am I revisiting both the harp and running? 2 things that I gave up primarily because of my mum. Why am I coming back to them now after she's died?
Wild.
And I think it feels like it's very low stakes revisiting the harp in particular. Because it's like, I can just do this thing. I don't have to come back, see my harp and be like, I should do some practice then if I'm playing. It doesn't feel like after this I'm going to be a harpist again. It just feels like a project that will be fun to revisit.
And you're really helping her because you are the only other person.
Yes, I mean, it's also work for me. You know, I'm not doing it for free. But I did leave the preparation a bit late, and
because I saw in the calendar you went to practice the harp.
Yeah, so I went to the sit-in last weekend. Just before the last show of the Salty Brine show that you came and saw. And I was like, I reckon I could relearn the harp this week, because we put in today is the first show of me doing it. And I've borrowed a harp from one of Clara's friends, and it's lovely, but I need to go and practice on her harp, basically. And the only time that I really managed to do that was yesterday. So it's been quite a stressful rush to figure out what's going on again, but it's amazing how it is still there.
Is it hard? Is it a hard part?
There are bits that are definitely challenging, and I don't think I'm definitely gonna make some mistakes today.
Oh yeah.
But it's especially the pedals. Like, it's almost like the hands will be fine, but it's the feet that are gonna be a mess. Well, not a mess. An organised mess. To me, it's just like, it's such an incredible skill that you have that I've just completely forgot you even so have I. I sat down at the harp and I was like, whoa.
I guess we're doing this again.
I guess I have to do this. I think I really, because I had it in my, well, Cara asked me like months and months ago, before the dates were set in stone, if I'd be up for this. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, you know, it sounds great. But I really hadn't considered what it would be like to actually sit down at the harp and play. It's wild. And actually, what's been maybe more surprising is like the trauma of playing and learning has not come back with it.
Yes, I was wondering that.
Because it feels like it's such different repertoire than I would have learnt at music college. We have another cat.
Come on, doll. Do you want to come sit?
You can be in the podcast.
Yeah, like you would. I guess you would never do musical theatre with harp. I didn't even know that even existed, to be honest.
And it's also like nobody that I would be worried about. Like if my harp teacher came and saw it, I think I'd be a bit wobbly about it. But I don't think anybody's going to come and see this show that I would be worried about.
Everyone come and see Stiletto.
Nobody come and see it today. Yeah, so the stakes feel very low, and it's also, I think everybody's aware that it's kind of like a stupid doubling, like this shouldn't exist. Yeah, it feels like if I do a slightly worse job on one of the instruments, people are aware of how bizarre a doubling it is and that it's okay. Fasolka, you can't do that. I'm sorry.
Either settle down or we're going to kick you out. Good girl. She really did get the memo. This is going to go hard. This is what the video content's all about.
This is what people need.
Well, this kind of... No, it doesn't relate at all. I like how I'm trying to like draw parallels.
Yeah, we do segues here.
Child prodigies.
I was not a child prodigy. I learned...
Yes, you were.
No, I wasn't in...
Well, not in... But then again, what is a child prodigy?
I would say child prodigy in this day and age is definitely, in my head, associated with BBC Young Musician, competitions, those two things. I did not do either of those things. I wasn't good enough for either of those things, but I couldn't have performed under pressure at either of those two things. What do you think a child prodigy is? Let's get our dictionary corner out the way.
Well, the further I get away from childhood, the more I'm like, if you're, I know this is different, but like if you're excelling within the years of childhood and...
But I feel like there's a level above just being like good at your instrument at school. Like prodigy to me means like being wheeled around. Basically, we talked yesterday over WhatsApp about child influences, and there's this documentary on Netflix at the moment. I think it's called like Bad Influence or something like that, about TikTok, like child stars basically. And the one that they're focusing on is this girl called Piper Rockell, who did like pageants when she was younger. And I just feel like there are so many similarities between basically like pageant mums and child prodigy mums, who it's a big show of like wheeling your child around the country or maybe the world, who knows, to perform. And, you know, you see them there like holding the coat and the bag. Like, I just, those relationships between those children and those parents give me the heebie-jeebies. I feel so odd about them.
I feel like often it's like the parent putting into their child maybe what they didn't, what they wanted for themselves, or...
I think so. I mean, it often comes from I think the pageant stuff often comes from a line of people doing them. But I feel like with music, maybe that's not always the case, but it can be.
But it's like, but I think what so often messes them up is it's like, this is your child's, you're using your child for your own meaning and purpose. Mm-hmm. And like, they feel so much, I can see so much of the time that they're feeling like positive reinforcement based off how they're performing.
And then if they want to quit, there's just, I mean, quitting anything is hard, especially when you're good at it. But to have that whole layer of somebody else being involved who wants you to keep going, that's just like a whole nother dimension of pressure.
But I often, like, this really reminds me of a book I think you still haven't read, Jeanette McCurdy, I'm Glad My Mum Died, which is all about like how that relationship can be so abusive.
Mm-hmm.
And when she wants to quit, her mum's emotional reaction is that her life is over, basically.
I mean, even when I gave up the harp, it took me a year or two to actually tell my mum, because I was so worried about what she would feel about it.
Because you knew it meant a lot to her that you played it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I knew I had to give it up.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so many aspects to children being like in such an intense discipline from so young and to be performing that I would love to speak more to musicians in particular that have been child prodigies and how they feel it's affected their like work-life balance later in life, their sense of identity, all of these things. And also like practicing, like the things that you've missed out on, the loneliness, like maybe I'm saying it from somebody that wishes I don't even know if I do wish that I'd been better as a child. I think I enjoyed the fact that I had a more like rounded life.
I think it would have screwed you up a lot more.
Where would I be now?
Would have screwed me up so much as well. But I think like, how much can you, like, we're often reassured when we hear from a child prodigy that like this is everything to them and like they love music and this is their dream and like all of that. But I often wonder like, how much can you know that this is what you want at that age?
And also, how can you develop music is so much about expressing yourself and your emotions, but how can you develop your emotions and your self-identity if you are practicing all the time?
Yeah. And the other dynamic of it that I'm always confronted with and like freaked out by is choristers.
Oh.
Which like, I need to be careful what I say, but how we're always, the marketing for recruiting choristers is, I think, a bit problematic. You're telling parents that this is going to give your son or daughter an incredible start in life, and they're going to have the most impeccable musical training. But the reality is you're putting them together with a group of other young boys, which could be, and it was for many people I know, like a hothouse for bullying and a hothouse for... little boys are horrible a lot of the time.
Children can be horrible.
Children can be horrible to each other, and you're putting them together for hours a day.
Well, I don't know much about being a chorister other than what I've kind of seen on the peripheries of being at cathedral school and this kind of thing. But it felt like it was always advertised as like a lifestyle. Yeah. Like, come into the fold.
And the parents as well are like part of the...
This will become your whole life.
Prestige.
Yeah, this will be the foundation upon which you build your academic life and whatever, but this will always be here throughout your week or your month or your term or whatever it is, which to me is like, imagine any other activity. I guess you get it a bit with sports, but it's more like, it feels a bit less insidious with some sports, maybe like gymnastics and that kind of stuff. It feels similar in some respects.
It's a bit like that, but it's like the only thing that we do that's kind of equivalent, but no one really asks whether that's right or healthy. And I'm sure a lot of the time they're having a lot of fun. Fine.
But you wonder in retrospect whether they look back and...
I mean, I know a lot of them look back and don't see it as a positive part of their life at all, and want to get as far away from it as possible. And
within that, I'm sure there are exceptions. I'm sure there are people listening that had a great time. We're not here to talk about the good times. That's not what our podcast is about.
But then there's that whole thing of people who have had a terrible time and then always say, I had all this stuff happen to me, but I'm glad it did because it's made me who I am.
I know.
But is that just a thing that people say for the sunk cost fallacy?
I had this in counselling class the other day when we were doing nothing as usual, and they'd brought out, the whole morning they'd brought these prompt cards, basically like journaling cards. One of the questions was, what is your biggest regret in life? And everyone was like, I don't regret anything. I think I said, like, I regret some of the behaviours that led me to the outcomes that I don't regret. Like, I wish I could have done things in a different way, but if it had got me to the same outcome, which just wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have gotten to the same place if I'd behaved differently, or like if I'd talked about myself differently or had self-confidence or whatever. But it reminds me of that people are so hesitant to say they regret anything, because I think it's really sad to know that somebody really regrets something and that they carry that around with them.
Yeah. But isn't that just part of like growing, is that you're going to reflect and regret things?
I think so.
That's how I see it.
But I suppose, yeah, I don't think people really feel comfortable with the emotion of regret.
Yeah.
I'm also not entirely sure what it is, other than just feeling a bit maybe uncomfortable about something that happened.
Wow.
So should we wrap up for today?
I think we shall.
And go on to... Actually, what people seem to really like is the wins of the week. I always feel a bit kind of... Like it's nice, but it's not like anything groundbreaking. But I've had quite a few people comment specifically that they really like the wins of the week.
That's interesting. Good to know.
Good to know.
What's yours then?
God, have I actually done anything that's not just been chaos and stress this week?
The harp?
Yeah, I think yesterday a lot of my life at the moment is emailing people or texting people with bad news or like pulling out of things. And just because commitments grow and develop and become bigger than they initially were. So for instance, the harp stuff, yesterday when the strings hadn't arrived for the harp that I have, and I was like, how am I going to play this before the show tomorrow? So I cancelled on a friend, and I cancelled dinner with Stu's parents, and it just objectively was the right decision so that I could go and practice. But it was really hard because I knew that my friend was going away soon for quite a while, and I knew that I haven't seen Stu's parents in a while. But I just knew that today I was going to be feeling a lot better.
Yeah.
And this is my work and my reputation.
Yeah.
And
you don't do that often. You're not a canceller in general.
I'm not a canceller anymore. I think I used to be a lot. And I think that's why it grates against me so much, is because it feels like a return to a time where I used to cancel a lot. And I... Join us. No, I shan't. I must commit to everything and do everything. So that was a difficult win. What about you?
I really like that. I think you definitely made the right decision, but I know in the moment it's like...
It feels selfish because it's like,
yeah.
I need to go and sit alone in this practice, in the pit.
No, but as soon as you said the strings hadn't arrived, I was like, what's she going to do?
I know, yeah.
Like, that is horror. It's a horrible feeling, and I know you haven't played the harp for, like, years.
Yeah, I was Googling, like, what time does the pros come on Saturdays in N15? What's your win, though?
Oh, sorry. My win is... a
reluctant win, I see.
Yeah, because it led to an argument, but like, who cares?
You clearly do.
Now, if something is really bothering me in my house, I just tell people. Like, I don't care. Mm-hmm. And related to my OCD, there's one thing that one of my flatmates is doing, which I cannot stand, and like causes me physical pain. You could say, like, I should be pushing through it, but I think I know my limits now, and it's such a small thing.
Can you say what it is?
So, especially when the windows are open, with our big HMO fire doors, they can slam really loudly.
Gosh, I would hate that.
And like, one thing to do with my OCD that really stresses me out is loud bangs. And I told her this, and she didn't agree that she should stop slamming doors.
Oh, she didn't agree. She wasn't even like...
No.
I think even just like slamming doors in general is a bit of a...
Horrible.
A horror.
It just, for some reason, a slammed door is enough to like disrupt my peace for like an hour.
Wow.
And I told her this, and I said, I know it sounds dramatic. I don't want to go into my mental health history with you.
But I can get my GP to send it.
I promise you that this is not something I'm being petty about. Like,
wow.
This matters. Like,
yeah.
And she wasn't on board, so we had to have an argument. And in the end, she did become on board once another flatmate had got involved.
and helped her to see
Got the reinforcements.
Oh, bloody hell. So it was a win because I was like, you can feel gaslit in that scenario when someone's like, this is such a small thing I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why can't I? Like, why is this a problem? And I was like, oh God, yeah, maybe I should be the one changing my brain health.
Maybe I should be the one changing my brain health.
But then I was like, no, like, what the hell? I'm allowed to ask this quite small thing of her.
Yeah. Wait, so do you have like door stops or something? Or just
You've got door stops, but not upstairs, so that's where the banging is the worst. And our rooms are next to each other. And she's in and out her room all the time. I don't know why.
What's she doing?
Today.
Get her on the pod.
Oh my God.
Bring her in. I'm going to talk
Bring her in.
about this.
Oh, funny. Anyway,
well,
that's Doorgate.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thank you.
To our rambles, as usual. I was going to be like, and see you again next week on things musicians don't talk about, but it's not weekly, is it?
Whenever.
See you when we put an episode out. Bye.
Bye.